As we all know,
Is on.
oh, okay, it's a
We're
reminder.
on.
Yeah, we are recording, and we are only Web3, so probably we all know why Bitcoin was created. And since that's actually in financial system that it's causing all afterwards of the problems, I think. And if we switch it into different sort of economy, I think it can solve many of the current problems, or even all of them. And I was super excited to go dive into this topic. It was coming into my mind over and over again. Uh, and thank you, Yolanda. And thank you so much for introducing me to Charles, too. And that was like a reflection of everything that I wanted to go through. Actually, today I realized that Brian was watching it too. Then I realized that Indy was interviewing him even. So it's super exciting to dive into this topic, how the world will look like if we switch from taking, like focusing on what we can take, what we can get, focusing on numbers, on value that we are giving to everything actually. And instead we put focus on what we can give, what we can share with others, what contribution we can bring to the space. And that's, I think, really important manifestation today. That's how I feel. Uh, does anyone want to follow this? I don't know why, but I feel like I'm in the clouds now
I think
already.
I think when we talk about gift economy, sometimes we think about an economy of no money, right? That eventually might lead to something like that. But we are actually talking about a fundamental shift inside, right? In that it is about to have a community in which we trust to the point that the gift you give, you are not expecting the person that you give the gift to reciprocate it to you or anything like that. It is that the fundamental trust in the community, you know that eventually you will get it in another way. You know that we are putting what we give into a bank, the bank of the world, the bank of goodness, the bank of that we feel abandoned, you know. So it is interesting that if we do that transition, it's easy for to us to go through that instead of thinking like no money. Okay, money might be something that we need to take care of along the line, but the important part is where we at right now, and what is the reason that we give.
Yeah, because when I was thinking about it, like from the local perspective, we could easily manage this no money environment probably. But then if we are more and we want to connect it also into some global structure, maybe there is some sort of money involved, but it
Mhm.
looks different than what it's currently.
Mhm.
And it, as you said, that it's not managed by just some small group of people, maybe somehow decentralized or with different logic behind there.
Yeah,
So
I was interested. I think we all watched a few different bits of the Charles Eisenstein stuff. The one that I was watching, they took it back to um, historical kind of ways in which small communities interacted without the necessity for money at all. And Charles was suggesting that was in essence, a whatever, a proto gift economy that was based on, I guess, social proof and friendships and bonds and helping each other out and pooling resources and helping each other out like the Amish do with building barns and all the rest of it. Some of the answers are in our past if we look at what a gift economy is, and I appreciate that some modern distinctions are to do with open source software and all the rest of it, but it's not like it. There was a time when we existed without money, before the modern age, I guess, was my point.
Exactly. We didn't need money before all of it.
I've observed multiple different gift economies when I was like going around the world, and like just before this call, I was like giving advice to like one of the project leaders for another project that's kind of like facilitating a gift economy at the moment. The way I would see it, right? I would say at different scale, the structure or like the infrastructure that needs to be in place for the gift economy needs to be different. For example, in Laos, where I was like kind of staying at for like a week or two, I was in this like remote village. This couple just got married and they needed a house. In the modern society, what you do is like you kind of go to the market and start like kind of like go to like some Zillow listing and start shopping for a house, right? And then like you find an agent, you kind of pay the agent some money, and then they do the negotiation, and eventually you pay the seller the money and you buy the house. Now, that village, the way it worked was totally different. The wife started cooking a lot of food. Okay, put it on the dinner table where the house is supposed to build. And then next thing you know, for the next few days, all the villagers' men came and started helping build the house. And all the neighboring village men, they all came and helped chip in to build the house. No money transacted hands, food and muscle power transacted hands. And that is like a very, very straight up like a simple version of like the gift economy with like, I would say, a population size of probably around 300 people, 150 to 300 people. That's kind of close to the Dunbar number. Now you scale that up to like say Burning Man when it was like there. Then theoretically, like when you're inside, you're not even allowed to use money at all. You bring your own supplies, and the population size when I was there was around like 80,000 people. Okay, it's like probably like 20, 30 order of magnitude like larger than like the other economy I saw. I would say one of the key challenges of like scaling a gift economy is that when the number of people are small, you know who's who and who's like producing what. So if you need help, you can like go reach like that specific person and say, okay, great. When you start scaling up the gift economy to like say more than like 1,000 people, then like it suddenly becomes like humanly impossible to kind of like keep in mind like, okay, this out of this the 1,000 people, who are the people that actually produces what and what I need help with. Then I would say at that point you like probably start needing like a listing system of sorts. Now, you take this 80,000, like let's say like a population size of like 100,000. I would even like perceive that there will be like sub communities in there at that point. They kind of cluster around like the 150, and the way they work would be very different. It's kind of like when I was like working on TrueSight DAO, we kind of like had this kind of like arrangement. There were like some like important learnings from that. One was that within those like 150 clusters, the culture is very different, the processes are very different, the way things are working is like very different. And if you try to cross-pollinate from like one cluster to the next, right, you probably start experiencing clashes of processes or values or norms. Probably not going to work. However, you kind of like abstract that and say, hey, this cluster specializes in producing X and this cluster specializing in producing Y. And then you can like have theoretically like start having the gift economy perform at the cluster level. That means I don't really need to know what's happening within the cluster. Is to me a black box. But when I know my cluster needs like something, which is kind of like service X, I can like go talk to them, and then potentially like it might happen we like get some like goodwill and get like some resources from them that they specialize in producing. That might work. That's like kind of like how I'm seeing it. But that needs to be tested. I kind of like only like tested around like 2 to 3 of those transactions like so far. All right, that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for sharing this. It's very interesting how you tested it. Do you also hear the sounds of every reactions?
Yes.
I have no idea how to turn it off potentially, but
It puts me in a better mood. So for me, we can keep it.
I mean, I tried to turn it off on my own settings, and I have it off. So maybe someone has it loud, and we hear from someone of you. So if you go into settings and there are sounds, you can decide which ones to play. Just meanwhile, we figure out how it works, how Brave works.
I have something to add for myself.
I saw Marta. Yes, please.
I mean, because like when we were discussing, like as you said, Gary, there are like many different ways of implementing the gift economy, and this is what I like what you said, because I was thinking like actually here in Germany there is already some elements of gift economy that are working. You cannot hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll maybe just continue that in Germany there are already elements of gift economy that are working very well, and I immediately thought about this platform called eBay Kleinanzeigen, and there literally when I thought about it, it just works exactly like the gift economy, because there is like this section where people just give away things for free, and like it's my girlfriend's apartment, like most of the things that you see in this apartment she was already gifted for free. So I was thinking that actually, of course, there may be some closed communities that are working very well within their own gift economy. But on the other hand, just what was coming to my head is that also in bigger, let's say, countries, in bigger civilizations, there are already elements of the gift economy that are functioning very well, and maybe there could be just a way to scale it a bit more. Just also, yeah, like because we're talking that it's kind of hard to scale the gift economy, I was also thinking that it's already like pretty well scaled in Germany, this platform eBay Kleinanzeigen, where people just say, hey, this is what I can give, this is the service that I can give from myself for free, this is the thing that I can give from myself for free. Even there are those small unspoken rules that if you leave for example, like an old kettle at the trash bin with the top, like with the thing that you can put in the socket, it means that you can use it and you can just take it from there. But if it's cut off, it means that it's just broken and you cannot use it anymore. Yes, sure, I can share it with you. It's more kind of like local things, but maybe I'm wrong, and I can also share this platform with you so you guys, and it's in German, so but you can check out this platform, and there I would say that the gift economy is pretty much thriving. People just give away things for free, and I got beautiful sofa for free from that platform.
Even on Facebook, I suppose you can do something like this. People want to give something, and well, I think it's part of us as humanity raising vibrations and turning into it, like, let's give something that we don't use anymore, and let's share it with others.
Yeah, it's also happening in bigger communities, so I would say that it's also good that it's also like there are more solutions and tools that already allow us not to necessarily separate ourselves from like the current world that we live in, but already embrace this gift economy right where we are, without like some bigger or like more intense changes.
I think we naturally would do this, but then the only concern I heard was like that some people may use it, but when we are all on the same level of consciousness, then we don't have to be afraid. There is no fear anymore in this. And for small things like providing for our families, we would not be afraid anymore. We would know that everything will be there for us. The only reason why we would need probably more resources would be to build something bigger. And maybe we would need like more, different sort of resources. Then it could be released in many different ways. From what I heard, for example, through measuring our frequency, for instance, like if we do something from the heart, if we want to build something truly to serve the humanity, then these resources would be released for us. That's like the 5D, let's say,
Mhm.
future, yes, for us as humanity.
No,
Yeah,
it's
the
like
gift economy, like it entails a paradigm of like law of giving. Like the more you give, the more you receive. Like in some cultures, there's a trend called like giving without expecting anything. When we reach to that level, when there is nothing like we want back, then eventually we are gifting something to somebody, and now that person has a sense of gratitude towards us. Like, and that person want to do something much bigger than much gift than what we have given to him. Like, now when this kind of a revolution comes up, or like society starts thinking in this way, then we move away from our basic animal nature, the crab mentality, to supportive nature, where we are uplifting each other for the betterment of the life. And even if that person, because again our effort was selfless, so that we have not to expect from that person, and even that person is not giving, some third person will definitely see your act and do this for you. So the entire concept, now what I think in this, like, okay, if we go to the traditional system, the battle system and all that, it was like a kind of a replication of that. But how can we use that in the current tech world, like, where it can beneficial for all? Like, if when I'm in a typical technical meeting, there is like we don't even share the information, even the slightest of information other person won't share. And sometimes your idea, the investors, the VCs, they will take your ideas, and they will look for other people who can fulfill that in less time. So from that mindset, current tech industry is going, and we have to shift to somewhere like the DAOs, for example, is again the Web3 community and the open source coming in. So that is kind of an example of the, like, how the shift is happening. Like, people are building anything, they are giving it for free on GitHub. That's like kind of like how from this layer, how can we scale it up to certain level that where it can be beneficial for all.
so
Thank
actually
you. I think you are talking about unconditional love here and giving. I saw that Daniela raised her hand, so I would like her to follow now.
Yeah, so I was listening and I feel I think it's about like re-educating, and I think it's more on like leading with example kind of thing. So I'm not dreaming of like a gift economy for everything, because I do respect a lot like the different ambitions that the world has placed out there for different kinds of learnings, of each one's soul. Like, I might not need a lot of material stuff, yes, but there's another soul out there that has another story and has its own ways of learning through another type of economy. But I do dream of the sense of energy, which means if my way of being generous is a gift economy and money less economy, that's beautiful, because I will be receiving generosity in a way that my journey needs it when I need it, if that makes sense. Um, But if someone else's way of being generous with the world is through other economic possibilities, that's okay too. Because in my perspective, other than changing 100% of the world is placing the right intentions for using the tools that the world has, and like for one part of it, and the other part of it is I've heard a lot about like the Burning Man ways of work, and I feel it's very interesting because it has it places first the intention of giving, and I think that's very important. So for you to be accepted in the experience, you have to have a clear mind of what will you offer and why is that important. And I highly appreciate that because it brings awareness not just on the like the yeah cool gift economy, what can I receive from this, but it places a question first on what am I offering, not because it's easy to offer or not because it's just like the first path I find in my mind, but because I'm conscious of why is that important for the experience that we're having, or what we might need, or like something adding conscious value. So yeah, so I think those were like two points I'd like to highlight, thinking on how the gift economy can bring a more collaborative and fair and like nicely intentioned world. Feeling gratitude for the tools we do have nowadays and that can be placed in different ways with a loving intention, and thinking first of what can I offer and why that could be useful for someone else. um, so yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I
Thank
have
you.
one thing that. Oh, sorry. You can go ahead, Jackie.
Becky?
Sorry, Marta. It's so like obtrusive when the hand comes up. It's like someone wants to speak to do that to you. But just touching on what Daniela and going back to something Gary said in his scenario, you know, it's interesting for me because when I think of giving, and I've given a lot of NFTs out, and in my head, I have this idea that all the art I make is going to be worth something someday. So, like when I give them to people, I'm like, someday that'll be worth a bunch of money, I hope, or whatever. But it's strange for me to think of an economy that's built on giving, where an individual wouldn't have to exercise faith or belief, or like you talk of going to Burning Man. It's a belief that, okay, well, when I get there, everyone will have at least done enough of a part that we're going to succeed, and if we run into any challenges, we'll be able to address them like in the moment. So it's an interesting thing to think about, you know, programming that into things, because like, how do you program belief or faith or trust that everyone's going to like do what they're supposed to do? Yeah, that was just something I was kicking around.
So I
It's
was.
great that. It's okay. No, I just wanted to say that it's really good that Jackie. Maybe people also need to get used to me get talkative because I don't really participate in the live talks, but I think it's also what you said, Jackie, is really good that you brought this up, because I also think that if we don't know how to give, you know, like if we don't know who currently needs what we need to give, it also can build frustration. So I was also thinking, besides only thinking, okay, let's now focus just on giving people, it's also really important to know who currently needs what I need to give, because currently, like, not only the problem that we have of money that is now, but there is also overproduction, and they kind of have to force the things onto us, because suddenly it might turn out that what people are trying to give or like trying to sell here is useless. So for me also, another thing that besides just motivating people to give out there would be also knowing who currently needs my help. That is just going to be the most valuable, because then, for example, we're just really focused on giving, and then it might turn out, okay, actually not so many people need what I'm giving, or I'm not able to find the right people, and it's also becoming ineffective in the long run. So this is also what I wanted to add, that if we don't know how to give, it also might build frustration, and this is not going to be sustainable in the long run.
Okay, now Vikas
Good
was
boy.
raising his hand. Keep on going, please.
Hey, first of all, I'll totally agree what Martha is saying, says, and Jackie is mentioned, and especially Tushar. So first we need to understand like gifts economy, what it is, right? So gift economy is basically one of the important system in our society, and it is very, very important. As you know that Martha is mentioned about how we can find out who is the person, so which who is basically require this gift economy, right? Because we don't know if that fellow came to us and we are really very happy from his or her contribution, then we will think to give some gifts, or we can say like anything in terms of gift economy, right? So right now if you can say, if you can see in this tech word, right, like Google, open platforms, GitHubs and Kaggle, they are also helping the man who is very last to the society. But the thing is, you need to raise your consciousness, you need to raise your scientific ability, right? It's not matter of like how we can find out. There was a time last 10-year back or 20-year back when there is no internet, right? But we can assume right now, I think more than uh, 15 to 30% peoples are having an internet, right? They can access each and every bit, each and every information. So that's how, if someone is working in any domain, maybe finance, maybe medical, maybe any domain, right? If they produce any economy in terms of anything, right, then any person who is the last man of the society, they can get this benefited from the gift economy, right? So in terms of consciousness, if I can say gift economy is very old fashioned name, which if from the Hinduism, means like from the India perspective, or you can say Eastern philosophy, gift economy is really very old. If you can see our Indian movies or reading about Indian books, right, those are talking about gods and all. If they are very happy from any praying, if a person is doing some pray to the god, right, and if god is really very happy from his or her contribution from prayer, right, they will give the gifts of economy in terms of monetizing, in terms of services, in terms of some magic, right? I can't say I can't take the particular name, but we have seen. And if you can see the some movies, right, if our kings are very happy from third person who's doing a lot of task in his home, anything, then if they feel happy from his or her contribution, then they will give the gift, some gift, right? So it is very important to our society how we can maintain this, because it's important. It rise the feeling of thoughts of happiness from the giving. We learn lot of things from this gift economy, because once you are have that feel like, okay, I feel happy from the give, from means like to produce or to give someone without any cost, without any laws, without any legal paperwork, right? So it matters how you are giving. So once you are giving something to unknown, known, it doesn't matter. But if you are giving something from your own heart, right, it raises your consciousness. And once you reach at the level of higher consciousness, then everything, whatever you learn, whatever you earn, right, your thought is really changed. In that case, everything is shifted from finance or present economy to gift economy. And it's matter, that's how we can solve the problem what Martha was says, right? Ki how we can what I can say transfer this gift economy at the last person of the society. Yeah.
So, actually adding to that, right? I was like, after like listening to all the talks, I was thinking about like the whole economy in terms of like networks. You guys like familiar with the game Reversi or Tello at all? It's like this like two-dimensional board, right? Where you can like place like black and white, and like whenever you corner like a black corner a row of white, they all turn black. So I would say like to be able to like scale up the if give economy globally, we have to like figure out how to tackle the problem of prisoner dilemma and like keep like the whole game theory situation at bay. And like let's use like the idea of like the Othello board as like a metaphor, right? Usually the player that wins like the whole game, like be it the black player or the white player, are the player that controls like all four corners. So now look back at the economy, right? The key resources, right? So long as the key resources remain monetized for like the whole economy to sustain itself, then like however much we try to promote a gig economy, like essentially some of the resources will get sucked out of it. Now, when I like think through this whole process, right, the key resources are technically a few categories, right? Energy, food, shelter. So if we could somehow figure out how to like convert like those like resources from like the scarcity base to like like abundance base, then theoretically using those as the keystone, we can like build an entire gig economy and like scale it globally. Now, in terms of like shelter, it's just like a place to stay, right? Like technically, I'm like right now like on public land, it's like kind of free of charge. I'm not even paying for it. Now, in terms of food, right? Well, it's like farming is like the main thing, and foraging or like basically like people giving food. That's like pretty freely accessible. Now, the thing about energy, that's where it becomes tricky, right? The bulk of our civilization is still relying on oil. However, we are like starting to look into like nuclear. We're like starting to look into like solar, all right, and like hydropower is kind of like there. So I would guess the interesting thing that could potentially happen is like one of those power sources starts becoming like instead of charging, just give being like given freely, and like you have like a lot of this like power nodes like established around the world, and theoretically you can like use those to kind of like power a huge portion of the gig economy and like start scaling it globally. And then like once you kind of like put in like the listings, like what Martha kind of like talk about, of like who needs what and who actually like wants to give what, and I would say we have like the full structure of like the gig economy in place that could potentially be scaled globally.
Mhm. Yes, and
I think also what comes to my mind is also, especially when Dr. Vikas was talking, it really had me realize that people really need to understand, like, or maybe there needs to be like a closer connection, that if I give, then I'm going to get happiness, because for now we're kind of separated it from ourselves, and then if you give me, then if I give you something, then I get money in advance. And I think that the giving economy would become more scalable if, instead of really having like the money as this kind of the thing that we're getting back, it would like people would understand, like again, like globally, like in a more scalable way, that like the here we're just going to get happier, like the happiness. This is what I thought, because like we always like we're emotional beings, we're driven with like the like feelings, and of course I'm not talking about providing like the basic needs, but here I'm really thinking that also another part besides making it, let's say, the tools like it from like this applicable way possible, it would really need to be communicated in a more global way, that through giving we're going to feel happy, because this is what like we should see in general. People will be more motivated. The driving force for them is just this positive impact, which we also discussed like a few weeks ago. But this is what also came to my mind that I wanted to add. I think it's maybe something obvious, but I still thought I would like to point that out.
Thank you,
uh,
Marta. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Martha. Yeah. So, as I remember, like every coin has a two phases, right? So here, if you can see, the gift economy also have the two phases. One is like positive phase, which we have discussed, right? And if someone is working on the gift economic side and see just positive side, then who is giving, he is feeling happiness, right? But if we talk about what are the negative side of this gift economy, and how people or how businessmen and how web3 gaming and these type of domains are using this gift economy into the negative side, I'm not the person who can comment, but from the psychology side and the from the philosophical side, whenever I'm seeing this gamification advancement, right? When you are playing a game, right? Why you are playing the game? Have you think, if you are child, if you are children, like if you are using temple run, like you are playing and you are getting some coins, you are getting some money, virtual money, right? It is not physical money, right? But you feel you are getting something and you are feeling happy. That's how you are addicted.
Where
It
we
is
had
my
this discussion previously already,
Yeah, it is
like
my
full topic
perception.
of
Sorry, yeah.
gamification.
Sorry, my bad, because I was not presented. Just I shared my thought.
What I
Sorry.
feel now, it's like we are mixing this again, like with dopamine at the end, and we are talking a bit from one side, like the 5D, how it would look like, and then also it comes like what we can do now. Yes, that this transition, like how it can be implemented already. So it's mixing all together, I think, because what I believe, for example, in 5D, like many of these issues would not even appear because we would we will be all at the same level of consciousness, awareness. We understand the universal laws that we are just giving unconditionally, and we know that we know.
Can I
And
explain?
Yolanda, please,
Yeah,
because she
Yolanda, please.
was raising her
You
hand.
have raised your hand.
Um, I yeah, and even though I believe in this 5D for sure, and that 5D cannot arrive unless we work in what is unseen in this reality right now, right? It's so important. I mean, there's no way that you can manifest this level of experience unless you really have a look at what is right now. And I want to say that, yeah, I totally believe in the gift economy. I want to believe, not only I want to believe, I want to create a world for me, an environment in which that is possible. And as Gary was saying, I think is everything in place already. So I think there's a problem with the scarcity. That's what I see the most, or what I feel the most, even in me, right? The fear that if you give, you're not gonna get in return, or the fear that you're giving more than you are receiving, or you're giving more and you are being used. So I see that as a symptom, actually. I don't see that as a real cause, right? If you feel that you are not receiving enough, it's because you're not receiving enough. And maybe we need to look at why are we not receiving enough, right? And so I think there's a lot of scarcity, that there's false scarcity. I think we have a lot of resources. A lot. If we're jealous, is because we haven't have enough love. You know what I mean? So why we don't have enough love? So it is like that is the fundamental shift that I see it needs to happen in our interior, because when you are with the idea you are really connected to someone, that is an interdependency. Gift comes naturally. In fact, when you give a gift, there's already a bond. A bond. There's a bond. That is community. You give, and there's a bond. A bond that you want to bring more of that. You know, so it is a natural thing to give when everything is in order inside.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
very,
I
very
totally agree.
beautifully said. Like, can I give an example, like based on the spiritual point of view? Because Aga was mentioning the 5D, even Yolanda even add further to it. Like, if you guys like, I don't know if it go out of context. Like, as per, I don't know how many of you, like everybody will be aware of the chakra system, the energy centers in our body. So until we are stuck at the lower chakras, like the first, second, and third, like the root chakra, sacral, and the solar plexus, still we are stuck at the survival level. We are very much thinking of our survival, day-to-day needs, whatnot, and until our consciousness is stuck there, only till the survival, we humans won't think of a gift economy or anything like that. But the moment we raise our vibes in the physical world and the spiritual world from these three chakras, definitely everybody's heart will open up on its own. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to push yourself. You don't have to think about it. It will happen eventually, because that's what we human beings are made up of. Like every time, like a beggar on the street who's thinking every time on the like getting just to earn the food won't think of it. But a person who's generous enough, his heart enough, he's filled, like, is overcome his desires, not only the worldly desires, but the internal, the lusts, the whatnots. Then that passion that will flow, and you were mentioning about receiving. Now, we humans not only fail at giving, we fail at receiving also, because we remain closed. A part of our energies or the energy centers within our aura remain closed. The grace is following all over the world, grace, but we have to access it. Even the consciousness itself, it's not available for free. We have to access that consciousness. The water will definitely flow down, but to lift it up to the roof, you require a motor. So we have to open up. And all this then drills down again to a very spiritual aspect. If we, in our own life, make ourselves better, that would be a beautiful gift to the humanity. And if every person does that, his her own effort to make themselves a better person, then the gift economy will happen on its own eventually. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing this. It's like solution for everything. Whatever
Yeah,
conversation we go, it's like going back to ourselves.
ourselves.
Once we get there, and
Yeah,
everybody
because where
does it
where
too.
are we working from? Even if we are
Hey
working.
guys,
Hi guys, hi. So like even if we are working in the physical world to earn the living, where we are working from our mind, feelings, emotions. Anything we are doing in relationships, it's all starting from here. It's everything. So if we
Exactly.
sort this out, everything is sorted.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love it. Every time we come to ourselves, it starts here inside. Please, Daniela
Please,
was.
Ella.
Yeah, Daniela.
Yeah, I just wanted to say openly thank you because it brings another like ingredient of the gift economy, which is the capacity of receiving. And I don't want to go that road fully, but I feel that's something that's especially difficult for women, because we don't know how to receive because we're not taught we deserve. We're taught we have to give and we have to please. And that brings such an unbalanced recognition of self, and that's something that I personally have been working on a lot to give from a space of the word in Spanish. Yoli, how do I translate merecimiento? Of
You deserve that you
yeah,
deserve.
like giving from a place of knowing that I
we are
deserve
worthy.
to, of worthiness.
I
And I think that
yes, I
moves
know.
such a
I
different
think
energy.
we are the same. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I think I muted them.
Okay.
There was some other conversation, I think, in the background, no?
I'm not sure if I think I'm not I stopped seeing some cameras on, but now they're turning on again. So I don't know if my internet is well. But yeah, like definitely that's something that I appreciate a lot, because if I was taught younger not just to give but to receive and to ask, as Jackie was saying, when I need something without feeling ashamed of it, I feel I would have been able to balance my own energy and be a better self to protect all of it. Like I feel it's an ongoing um like virtuous cycle. And as you say, if we learn how to go into that virtuous cycle, it's a better world adding up in those individual means. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
What comes to my mind also is that we would probably not feel the need, the lack, like we are missing something at that point, because we would know that everything comes here, and we would feel abundance, yes, and not really missing something. But this point about women, actually, that's a very big topic too. Maybe we can also discover it next time, because the female energy is actually the receiving one. And through this programming, we were actually like, as you said, blocked maybe from really receiving. We are also easier, like it's easier for us to receive the messages from the universe, for instance, and we were blocked from it. There were wise women actually bringing the wisdom to the collective, yes, to this communities. So I hope we get there. I know we would, and we will
You guys
open
are doing
ourselves
it.
to receiving.
You're doing it right now. You guys are doing it. You are
We're
the wise
all, because
women.
we all need to balance it in the end. Correct. Yin and
It's
yang.
already done.
Yeah. Please, Brian, jump in, my dear.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I love some of the things that were said there by Yolanda and others, and I hope I'm not going to sort of like change the topics kind of tangentially, but there's one word that came to mind for me, which is coherence, in terms of the fact that when Gary was talking about scaling the gift economy, I mean, there are some good examples of what scaling the gift economy looks like. For example, the Linux operating system is perhaps a brilliant example of what can be accomplished through the gift economy. Likewise, Wikipedia, but they seem to be based on people establishing a sense of strong consensus around around an objective that they all agree with, rather than based on individuals giving to each other. So, I mean, I wonder whether or not it's a question of finding some coherence in terms of pushing it forward at greater scale than at the local community level. And then I also wondered whether or not DAOs, which I'm still sort of really just starting to scratch the surface on, but whether or not other people in the room with more experience of DAOs can see a way of them fitting in. If Gary, for example, talked about clusters, can clusters be DAOs, and can DAOs cooperate with each other to provide scale for a gift economy?
Yeah, I was actually just like on an advisory call with like the project leader that's like trying to do the reinforcement learning version of like the Linux like movement, right? Linux movement is mainly like open source for operating system. You know, like they are like what they're trying to do is to kind of like build like a similar OS, but for reinforcement learning, which is like the next phase of like AI. And yeah, literally we kind of like borrowed a lot of like the stuff that we proved to work in like TrueSight DAO over. He was experiencing a lot of problems like getting like funding, like literally like monetary funding for like some of the more critical projects to work. The problem we like discussed about like over the 1 hour was that some of the projects needed like full-time people to maintain and like kind of like build upon before they can like really be used like widely by all the companies that's trying to like do AI. And he says for that to happen, the effort would be around like $2 to $3 million a year. So after like much discussions, I spoke to him and said, "Hey, you are liaising with the executives of like these large tech firms, and these executives know that this problem is very important to solve because they are facing the same problem themselves. And the problem they are having right now is like getting the finance or CEO and getting the budget approved. So getting them to give you cash and then like having you manage the head count, those engineers full time under the foundation, probably is not going to work. However, what might be interesting is this, right? Those executives probably have like a whole bunch of engineers reporting to them. So they have like free use of this time. So maybe the right way to approach the problem would be to kind of like come up with like a list of like 10 to 20 like very well-defined problems and says, these are the problems we need solved. And if you are individually going to tackle this problem, it's probably just going to be a waste of everyone's effort, right? So why don't you devote one of the engineer on your team to solve one of those problems, and then I'll go to the rest of the network and convince them to solve the other set of problems within like this list. And that might work. And then in exchange, you get like governance tokens, because there's definitely more like problems than like resources for solving those like problems. So the tokenomics, which kind of like will end up becoming like a form of DAO, would be that well, we have like 20 engineers available spread across like 20, 30 like different like tech organizations, and we have like 50 plus problems. So you guys all get to vote with your DAO governance tokens to like figure out which particular set of problems we want to prioritize. And that might be that's like how we kind of go about like scaling like scaling this gift economy for this specific like vertical. Yeah.
It seems funny for me to think about scaling this economy while the whole universe works this way. And then but yeah, I understand that we try to figure out the way here for the moment. Jackie, please jump in.
So I'm so pleased that everyone's bringing up Linux, because that's exactly where my mind went when I was thinking of this first topic. And then when Brian said it, and then Gary followed up on it. But what's interesting about like Linux people, like if you were there when this was all coming up and everything, like there was this feeling that you were never going to get paid for this, that all these other people out there were designing closed systems and proprietary information and all this. So it's kind of like a certain type of person that gives in the way, like a lot of open source and what you see on GitHub. I mean, there really are just people giving out code. They just want people to use it. Like they're not expecting anything in return or anything like that. But speaking to what Gary was just talking about too, I mean, I've advised on a lot of these DAOs where I say often, you know, we just need to reward people for what they naturally do. Like the more we can get to people aren't thinking about their actions being tokenized or being like they're actually just living, and somehow these digital twins or this digital, you know, record keeping system is sort of just like keeping that tab. And I think, and I would hope that the power of blockchain and distributed ledger and all this is that individuals can see this data themselves. You know, we don't need a journalist to tell us this. We can actually just see what's going on in the networks and communities that we participate in. And then hopefully any type of, you know, person that's on we should all be sort of personally developing. Well, we can't help but do that, but hopefully we're conscious about doing that. But I mean, if you know, if data is reflecting back to me that, you know, I'm not being the greatest community member, that should be on me and my own, you know, volition to do something about that or not. But yeah, that's just a couple things I was kicking around.
Yeah. Actually, if you use like Linux as the example, right? I would even say that Git, where like all the protocol that's like used for managing like all this open source software is in itself like a form of blockchain. Because like every single code that you kind of like commit like to the master like repository is like there's like a track record for that, right? And because of the nature of the activity itself, your personal contributions like track record just automatically established on the repository. And I think part of the part of the byproduct of this is that whenever like a new person like jumps into this ecosystem, he'll like have some problems. He'll just naturally check through like the chunk of code and see who was the historical author for that specific section, right? And then he'll reach out to that author. And that's like how like the whole Git works, the kind of like accountability aspects of it works, right? Whereby, okay, I've been like contributing a lot to this repository, and like when anyone like looks, it's like, okay, 50% of like this repository was authored by this person. So it's a form of like social recognition as well. So I guess like if you kind of want to roll out like another like alternate like gig economy version, like using like blockchain, then like this specific aspects has to be baked in, right? Because currently, like even myself, like when like working through TrueSight DAO, the contributions are manually like recorded, and it's not very like natural. It's kind of like you have to add it in instead of like it being a byproduct of like whatever activity that took place. That's like that's kind of like one of the friction I'm like observing right now with regards to using like Web3 to support like the gig economy.
And, just to piggyback on that really quick, Gary, it makes me think too that I think all of us have to release some form of judgment about when we do see this data back, or we do look at these repositories. Like sometimes it can be easy for all of us to say, well, this person or these people should be doing more, or I should be doing this or whatever. But I think we all have to get more comfortable with just reading data and like letting the truth be the truth, or whatever it is what it is. And can we just move forward without being like super ridiculous about this?
Everyone should do as much as they can also. And when we put the comparison between each other, the competition again, and it's not about this. We don't do it for ego. We don't do it also for, clapping hands or any sort of tokens. Otherwise, it's not unconditional.
It's
So
like the
for
whole
that,
social
you need
ranking
to.
thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead, Gary.
yeah. It's like I kind of like brought it back, like brought this up like 2 or 3 sessions ago, like when we were kind of like experimenting with like the whole social ranking thingy. Yeah, it kind of like brought in like a lot of unwanted dynamics in like the whole DAO. So we ended up scraping that. It's like you can like give like based out of like unconditional like acceptance of values, or you can like just say, okay, I'm giving because of social status, and that is actually what it does. It triggers off envy, and once envy like starts entering like such a gift-based economy system, then like the whole balance like gets thrown off. You don't want to like introduce this. It's like the extrinsic versus intrinsic like reward. You kind of like want to like encourage more of the intrinsic and kind of like stay away from like the use of extrinsic like motivation.
I feel that all those come up, those habits that we have, let's say, I don't know, hurrying, like we need to do everything so fast, or we need to accept the data, or I don't know. I would like to disrupt all of that in terms of what if it's just the symptom. This is the symptom. What the root of it is that we have bought, all of us, me included, at least I want to take responsibility, into an economy of substitution, cheap substitution of what really love mean, what really feeling safe mean, what really feel value mean. And I think we're thinking about a gift economy in a community. Let's put it only in a small community, in a DAOs, if you want. It has to be a higher purpose, and an intentional higher purpose in which all of that they are part of that community. They're in alignment with something bigger that we all of a sudden we are seeing that we are living in an abundant universe, abundant of love, abundant of food, abundant of help, abundant of everything. And so things like, I don't know, jealousy or attention seeking, things like that are just because we have given ourselves up to substitute that with something that is cheap. Sometimes it's in the form of a car, sometimes it's in the form of more likes, sometimes more sharings in our posts. I think we are all part of this, and I think that needs to be revised. If we, at least, I talk about myself, in terms of, I really want to question all of that, because and that implies removing down underneath me and being willing to day-to-day life. And I think that's what we're talking about here. What can we do today for later on change the world if we want, right? But it is today, and be honest. And radical how it's.
I would like to maybe add something to what you said, Yolanda, because I really like how you said that we tend to like substitute ourselves, and that's why all the time I've been thinking that technology should be here to support us, you know, but then, for example, if we don't first have it within ourselves, like if we don't say, okay, before we use the technology in order to make our let's say community more, let's say, like make it able to, you know, involve further, like it should still start from ourselves. If we substitute ourselves to the technology and we say, oh yeah, now I pointed at the technology, now I put the responsibility in the technology, that people are actually going to be wishing to contribute, or that I put it now in the technology that I can trust people, then this is not going, from my perception, this is not going to be something that can work in a long run. From the first, like in my opinion, should be more or less, let's say 80% us really working as humans to work through this together, and then 20% of the technology just to even embrace it even further. This is how I perceive that. I don't think that, yeah, like technology should be here more like as, like, you know, like the spice and we're like the main meal. I like this
It's to
comparison.
support us. It's to support us, not to replace. So yeah, as you said, this
If people are lazy,
codependency again. Not we
yeah.
don't want this.
If people are or
Beautiful.
then later, if people are lazy and we will try to use maybe gamification, then it will go further into manipulating people, which is also again not something sustainable. So yeah, this is what came to my mind, and I really like that you use this word substituting ourselves, because it really, really well fits in what I had in my mind.
Yeah, beautiful said, both girls. Thank you. Someone wants to follow?
Well, part of the problem in terms of, you know, what Yolanda just said in terms of, you know, lack of love and abandonment, and if people are jealous, it's because they don't have, you know, enough attention or affection and all the rest of it. I mean, let's face it, we live, if we're talking about a gift economy, we live in a theft economy. You know, you think most people don't earn enough, more, at least most people don't earn more than enough to live on, and yet you know, they're taxed. There's sales tax, there's property tax, there's, in the UK there's council tax, there's death tax. You know, the whole sense of scarcity engenders this kind of society that we live in. And Eisenstein, in one of the interviews that I said, traces it back to the actual, you know, the fractional reserve banking system, the issuing money at debt, and the control mechanisms under which we're all effectively brought into the world and live in the world. So maybe it does ultimately come down to the financial system and our notions about money, and perhaps that's why Bitcoin came along. And maybe if we're looking at organizing around a gift economy, we have to be aware of that ultimately it's a feature of the system, not a bug. It's a function of the way that we're all kept on the reservation, effectively, rather than doing whatever it is that we want to do naturally.
Thank you. Beautifully said. And I see, meanwhile, that Indy joined us. I'm so happy to have you here. And hello, Sally, too, and Shibani. If you would like to jump into our conversation, we would be happy to hear what you have there. Especially you, Indy, that I discovered that you had this podcast with Charles. And I'm sure you also have some great ideas there.
I have a question that pops up in my mind, and I'm really curious, like from every single one of you, how you guys see that. Because like we're talking about the gift economy, and in general, in infinitely open minds, we're kind of trying to imagine the future that we would like to imagine ourselves in, right? And then I'm really thinking, when you guys are thinking about the gift economy, how distant distant in the future for you it is? I have already like an answer in my head, of course, but I'm really curious, like to some of you, to maybe also see, because like there's a discussion I'm thinking. We're also saying is there are some solutions already now, maybe in the future as well. So I'm really curious to see what you guys think, like when the gift economy could really happen.
Depends
jump
on
in.
us, on the process.
I'll say really quickly. I mean, just looking at everyone like internationally and globally that's like on this call and all the calls I do in Web3, like this entire idea of like the digital nomads, like, and like people banding together. I think we're already like kind of there, Marta. Like, I think we can embrace this and start living it and like pulling the energy, you know, or not pulling it, but using it in this way, like right now. But you know, easier said than done because I'm still sitting here in like a fixed location. So I haven't gone full digital nomad yet myself. But I do think there's like lots of different ways of being popping up that any of us could like tap into right now.
You know, I was actually like reading this like new book like recently. I think it's like a pretty old book, Sovereign Individual. And one thing I observed like when I was like going to like all the different cities, like all the different locations over the past like month, like actually a few months, like across the U.S. is this, right? When you go to like a town, say the one that's like really close by, like 15 minutes away, Sanborn, the population density is very, very low, right? And because of that, the number of like human interactions you need to deal with on a daily basis is pretty low. In that regard, right, it's like the next like n+1 person I have to like kind of interact with is technically very enjoyable for me. Now, last month I spent around 3 to 4 days in New York, and what I observed in New York City and like what I observed in Paris when I was there beginning of the year was the same. Population density was like too kind of like way through the roof, right? It's like people just are forced to have more human interactions that they can handle on a daily basis, and as a result, what they do, they start like shutting off like the human interaction just to give their brain like a break. In like a traditional like sociology term, that this phenomenon is called like social ghosting. And talk, it's like it's interesting that Jackie like brought up the whole idea of like digital nomad. The concept of cities, right, was really a result of like industrial revolution almost. It's like saying, okay, we want all these humans to be centralized in one place so that they can work in the factory as to like facilitate production. And now we have moved over to the information age. Much of like production is like already done and automated. There's almost like no reason whatever so to like really stick around in the city and kind of like get fatigued by like this overpopulation that I'm kind of like seeing in like all these like huge cities. In fact, like in San Francisco Bay Area, like my friend was like texting me, he's like, hey, half my friends are gone, they are not even in town right now. So that's great. So they're probably having a like higher quality of life like somewhere like where I am right now. I'm kind of like in the middle of nowhere, camped by the lake. So after this call, I'll probably just walk over and start doing some fishing with like this bait I just bought like a shop like 10 minutes away. So yeah, I would say like the gig economy will start flourishing when people start realizing they don't have to like stick around like in cities.
So when do you think it will happen? Following Marta's question.
I think it's probably accelerating now. I would say 3 years.
Wow, great. I believe we are in the process, and it's coming soon. Oh.
Yeah, I believe the process already being started with all these, like DAOs and the like uploading of the free codes and that in the tech space, and it's like it tracks like, and we do what we see others doing. Like if we see others uploading their codes for free, helping others, and giving out lecture seminars for free, we start doing that. And the more we give, the more sooner it will happen, right?
Yeah, it depends on us. Like
Totally depends.
how much activity we'll put towards this giving economy, because we already can start doing it step by step. It's a process, but we'll get there.
I also think there are external factors besides people also finding it within themselves. that they like it really like this giving economy makes sense. And I think just like for example with COVID and the COVID crisis, you know, like people were like the digitalization went up. I think that with the financial crisis, people will realize that money is not the only resource, and just by earning money is not the only way to really live in a life, like an abundant life, not even an abundant life, just to enjoy our lives. Therefore, I still think that if we enter the financial crisis, more people are going to start looking for different ways how they can support each other. And in my opinion, there is a high chance that it will embrace, even speed up the gift economy. So this is how I also perceive that. In my opinion, there is already it happening, but it's maybe not as, let's say, wide. But in my opinion, also just the fact that we're entering the crisis, on one hand, yes, we can be worried about the future, but on the other hand, in my opinion, just like COVID embraced the digitalization and decentralization, then it also has the financial crisis has a potential to also embrace the giving economy.
Every crisis is for a reason, and we have our personal ones, and then we have the global ones for our humanity. And definitely, there is one big coming, and it will awaken more people simply, and we will shift faster there. That's what I believe too.
I had a great conversation. I told you. Okay, I just wanted to say that in good times we learn, but in bad times we learn even faster. This is what somebody told me, so I just wanted to kind of conclude that.
Look at the war in Ukraine, yes, and how we faced it pretty much because we are in Poland. So the first movements were in Poland to help them to support the refugees from Ukraine, and how many resources were found, and how many homes were found, and how much food was found there. So everything is possible, and I think that we will need this next step of crisis to that would boost us actually. So somehow I'm happy for it because we will get there faster. You know what I mean? It's not that I wish for any crisis, but I know that we will get there faster.
Yeah, and also I feel that if actually is the name that we want to give it, but in time of crisis, is proven that our initial movement is to help. Initial movement is to support. Initial movement is how can I help? So I think it's already in us. It's part of being. But we had other systems of capitalism, systems of colonialism, imperialism that they get. But who says that is part also of the evolution? You know, like I don't want to say something wrong or something bad or good. It is like, okay, maybe all this is part of a bigger movement that is part of the process. You know, I feel that we are always in process, you know, and also be patient in terms that things like democracy, for instance, you know, it took forever to be instated. You know, it is not something that came up. Okay, now we're going to do democracy. Let's do it, you know, and it's proven that it's not the best system either, right? So it is, well, okay, let's rest into that. Let's rest that we don't have all the answers, and let's rest that we are in process and we are just thinking beautifully about it. And whatever we have, we already have it within us.
I love it what you said, that in this crisis we like kind of found our natural selves, actually, our true instincts, and same with our maybe personal ones too. In this darkness, we finally see more of ourselves. Wow, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, actually, back to the three parameters, so it's kind of like talking about, right, energy, food, and like shelter. I was like really lucky, like to get invited to visit this farm up in like the northernmost part of like Minnesota, like US, over last week. And what I observed was that the farmer himself, like the whole farm is like literally off the grid, not actually like drawing from the grid at all. This is like powered everything using the solar. And think about this. It's actually like an amazing achievement because it's like so far north, and you usually don't get enough sun. But he was still able to power the whole operations of the farm. Right, the tractor is like literally electric, and like I know that they are in the process of buying a new car. It's not Tesla, but Aperture, which like charges directly like from solar and goes up to like 40 miles per hour. And like everything else on the farm is just like literally not even like using grid at all. It's like they literally use like a very uh, organic way of like cultivating food. So that in itself is already a model that works, right? And so yeah, technology wise is all there. The parameters have been like turned from like one of scarcity to one of abundance, right? So now we kind of like what we can do is like just figure out how to like start building like the new economy based on like human like dynamics that work based on this like foundation that is already proven to like already be there.
Yeah, and how we can support others to get there. By example, as was mentioned previously, I suppose. And also about energy. You were saying about energy and
Yes.
that we have it some sort
Shelter.
limited.
Once you can solve this tree, then like technically like there's like no sense
Yeah.
of scarcity anymore, right? It's like, hey, think
Well,
about this.
that's why discovery of Tesla was so dangerous, because actually it enables everyone to have source of energy. And this technology is released now, and there are many. I mean, through moneyless society, I think that was this one. I also found some some engineers are working on
Yeah.
this technology, and they have some. I saw some sketches of devices that you could easily make yourself, even. So the knowledge is there, and everything is there. Just need
Yeah.
to find it.
Like I was
If
like
you want.
I was kind of like experimenting with like the mini urban farm prototype like back in like the Bay Area using my friend's backyard a few years ago, right? The idea is like, okay, how much like yield can we generate like using an urban land that's like around like 700 square feet? Yeah, if that works, right? Literally, like we can like use a lot of those like free unused spaces in the city and like start growing food. And think about the implication of this, right? Once food is freely available for anyone and everyone to take and it's like self-maintaining, you technically don't even need to like come back for food as a beggar. It's just like, okay, I'm hungry now. Just go and like go to the nearest patch, help yourself to some food, and just go do whatever you're kind of like passionate about. Think about this, like literally like turn like the whole paradigm from one of scarcity to one of abundance. And now I have like a lot of free time. What did I really feel passionate about working on? Because food is no longer a problem. And
Exactly.
imagine this happening across all the cities in the world.
I love it. We can start this manifestation right now. How it looks like.
Yes,
Everything is available. I see
everything is
some, I
available.
don't know, billboards saying who needs help, and I can go there and jump and help
Yes,
someone.
Yes, that'd be
So
awesome.
technology is supporting us.
yeah,
In
it's like a
case I don't
self-defense,
know on the other part of the city that someone needs my skills.
right?
But otherwise, everything is there. It's available to everyone.
Yeah, like imagine solar powered like irrigation system, and then like you have like kind of like vertical farms
Correct.
growing along every single wall of every building in the city, like that actually grows the food you need. You know? Maybe you're like be more vegetarian than like eating meat, but I think that's a good thing.
You know
Yeah,
what,
probably
Gary?
will.
Indy just jumped back on. I don't know if he'll be able to expand on this, but this was a great opportunity. Our group Cosmic Labyrinth last week or 2 weeks ago, they actually they took some land on like a median, and they set up like a little regeneration station. And after the event, like a week later, a woman came by and actually was watering the stuff and like took pictures. So like it just went on to show all of us that, like, as we've stated here in this conversation, like people really are naturally like caretakers. Like they'll take care of things when they walk by and see it. It was just a really cool thing for us to actually like see and experience. I'll put our link in the chat for you guys.
Yes, please.
Actually,
Yes,
speaking
please.
of which, the farmer like I visited, like they're in the process of like setting up this like common access like alliance, whereby like a bunch of like landowners that like own private land are like giving their private land, like making it like easy, like openly access for everybody. And like still have to like follow up with him to get the link. But I think like in terms of like land access, like that's the start, right? Like imagine like a farmer that owns like what 30 acre of land is like opening it up, and like a whole bunch of farmers doing that. Like literally, like why even bother living in the city anymore? It's like there's like land over there. It's like help yourself to the food, like it's free energy. Man, there's like so much abundance.
That's
Yeah,
why I'm
hearing
sure that it's happening already.
yeah,
So
hearing you, Gary, reminds me of like a place visited. It's called Auroville. It's situated in the south of India, and they call it the city of the down. So they have made an Auroville. It's like a community, self-sustained community they are building up. Like, and everybody is welcome to live there, and whosoever is contributing. So all these small efforts are building up, and like even from my own experience, once I thought to write a book that can help anybody, that can help motivate anybody who is in the crisis. But that has to have time enough, to write that book and compile it. Now, one fine day I took a stern decision. Okay, now I'll write the book. I discarded the job, I discarded my projects, and then it took me 4 years to complete that book. And when that book came on table, then I figured out you can't earn from your first book. It will give you nothing. It's just. And then I was thinking, like, oh my god, I wasted my time. If I was working in blockchain domain, at least I would have earned somewhere around 80 lakhs in all those 4 years. And it's like, but then I thought, okay, but because that was inside me to write that book. But now, when anybody reads my book and they feel good about it, it helps in them in one area of life and another. When some mother calls me, like my child was with depression, and I gave it your book, and now it's like he's feeling good. Now these are something that I get back is something that money can't buy. So it all come back in one form or the other. Which one is your book? My book name is Journey Towards the Square Mountain. Like I'll type it.
Yes,
You can
please.
search on you can search on Amazon in your particular countries, because it will have a different link on different places. So it's in India. It's already been an Asian bestseller. So
Great.
so it,
Great
it is
job.
every day I'll be leaving, getting one or the other call from anybody, and if they are like overwhelmed, they will be thanking me, and it feels so good. Now this is something money can't buy. But when I look at my financial condition, oh my god, if I was been working in blockchain for last 4 years, I would have been ladder somewhere, sitting across the people who are on the top notch. But that won't give me that sense of belongingness within the self that I have contributed even a small thing to the society. You know what my hobby is? I've enrolled with a foundation named as Plant a Tree Foundation, and there we go around the areas which are having less trees, and every weekends we'll be planting trees and tell the villagers and all to water them for at least next 6 to 8 months. And so if we do our efforts, something we give to the society aside the work that we are doing, because anyway earning is essential, like paying bills is essential. There's this entire system, the government and everything that wants money from us, right? So again, everybody should do their minute efforts, even in the terms of technology. That's what we were thinking with making a DeFi platform for agriculture, and backtracking. That's one thing that we are doing. So that's what I say. Everybody should do their efforts, and it will make everything beautiful for everybody. That's the contribution we can give. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. I'm not sure, Salim, you wanted to say something because you were unmuting yourself for a couple of times, and I'm not sure if I'm muting you. I'm muting you because I heard some sounds in the background.
No, I'm good. I'm good. But
Okay.
I'm having thoughts, but I'm also doing something else. So like the thoughts that come and go.
Okay, sure. Let it flow.
Yeah. They do.
So as you mentioned, Jackie, Indy is jumping in also. Say hello, or
I mean, he can definitely come in if he wants. I was just saying what Gary was talking about, but I actually have to jump off, guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh yes. Oh my God, we are talking a lot,
But I'll
but I
talk to you
love
all
it.
soon. I have to go to another meeting in 2 minutes, so
Yeah,
I'll see
sure.
y'all
Thank you
soon.
so much. Thank you so much,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.
We can slowly close. Actually, I think with this whole manifestation, how we imagine this
So,
beautiful world.
so yeah. So now that you've mentioned the manifestation, I have an idea. But first, I have like a question. I don't know if you have discussed it before. So to me, it's like the gifting community is like gifting stuff to each other, right?
Energy, skills, anything you can share
Yeah,
with others.
yeah. I think it's based on reciprocity, right? Like, okay, so in like all terms, like I give you milk, you give me wood, something like that, right?
This is
Like
exchange. I'm focusing on
yeah,
giving you.
yeah. Okay,
I
so
don't know if I'm going to receive from you or from some other place. I'm just giving you because I want to,
yeah,
unconditional.
all right, okay, okay, it's great, but it's like, don't we have to like, okay, so let's just say, so if I give you wood, so if I like take wood from you and then I give you like an ounce of gold, like it doesn't seem very fair. It's not a fair transaction. Okay, so let's just say that let's just say that I am self-sufficient and the other guy is self-sufficient. So like it's okay. But let's just say that we're not very self-sufficient yet. So how do we, in a moneyless world, how do we compare the value of an ounce of gold to like a pound of hay? Like
It's just inner perception that you are not sufficient, I
no,
suppose.
no, I get it, but it's like economy is based on on scarcity,
Yeah, I think then you will have to after I'm making the recording, so you should have a like
Okay,
listen to
okay,
it
okay, no
again or
problem.
the whole conversation
Yeah, yeah, sure,
because
no problem,
probably
no
you will
problem.
find the answers too in this one.
Yeah, no problem. So, okay, so let's just say that we have, okay, so I like the manifestation part. Like, I like that oral needs are met. So it's like we don't have to do what we are compelled to do. We have to do only what we like to do. Like if I like to just jump on podcasts and Twitter Spaces and LinkedIn audios, that's all I can do. You know,
Yes.
yeah, like yeah, it's great, but it's gonna be a while until I can do that, until we can do that. Like Neil says, follow your highest excitement, and I love that. But sometimes, and I love that, and I want to live that. But sometimes it's not really, like practical. So it's like
It
once
seems.
okay, so
It only
yeah,
seems that way. It
yeah,
only
yeah,
seems,
yeah,
and it
okay,
starts from yourself. Get rid of
yeah,
this
yeah,
all
okay,
the fears that you have there and
yeah,
trying to
You're
overanalyzing it.
you're doing it, Salim. Like you're helping with what you're up to with your country and helping with the energy crisis. You're giving every day. And I think everybody on this call, I don't think you'd be here if you weren't projecting with your heart into the field in order to receive this sort of communication and use thought patterns. But you're doing it. And the more you wake up in the morning and you meditate and you just follow your highest excitement, even if that means like going for a walk or reading a book or sending love out to the people in this group or in your family, like, and you just start to do that more and more and more, you create momentum of it in your life, and it starts to carry you through those moments when you're like, oh no, it kind of lifts you up and you start to get more confidence in yourself and this whatever it is, this metaverse. And you just, it's like just taking the direction one step at a time, one small
yeah,
step at a time. And you, after 5 years or 3 years or 3 months or 3 weeks, however long it takes you, you'll be there. You're there. You're already there. I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. and I love it, but you know, like in my country, we have a lot of restrictions, right? I'm sorry. So we have a lot of restrictions. So we're it's like we are reconsidering it. You know, like what are you doing it for? Why are you regenerating electricity? Why are you giving up power banks to freelancers? Like, you know, like are you doing something nefarious? You know, it's like they don't have, you know, like others people goodwill in mind, you know, like I mean it's tough, you know, especially
I
for people
understand.
who are struggling day by day, you know.
I understand. That's a reflection back to you of sort of what probably is going on inside of you a little bit, you know, like how can I be so abundant to take these actions and think this way, where how can I be greedy enough to follow my highest excitement every day when there are people out there suffering, right?
Right.
Something like that. But the point is that you can't control who's suffering and who's not. I can't control the restrictions in your country right now, and I can't imagine what it feels like to have those restrictions in my country either. But what I can control is how I focus my energy every day. It's almost like you're gifted a blockchain wallet and it's full every day. And how you use that energy comes back to you through ways. If it's not if it's not money, there's like a million other kinds of abundance out there, right? So something to trade, um, someone to listen to you, somebody to give you a gift. There's just a lot of other ways that you can have a thriving life other than through whatever the currency is where you live.
Yeah, man, very, very beautifully said. And it's like I don't do it often, but now it's coming from within because of this the whole momentum of this class. Like, once I worked as a therapist and a life coach. Now I left it. But to all of you guys, like, if anybody wants a tarot wisdom, tarot card reading for any area of your life, you're most welcome. You can, ping me on LinkedIn or anywhere and like ask whatever you want, and I'll definitely, I love to, you know, just give
Thank
it.
you so much.
Yeah. So if anybody is up, like, please feel free to welcome it. And the best part is, even if you don't want to tell the question, you just write an intent, and even my tarot cards work with that intent. Even you don't have to tell me your problem. So please,
we
guys, if any area of your life, you're most welcome, and you can communicate it to the other people who left, who just left call early. So all are welcome.
Thank you so
we
much.
really lucky to have you, Tushar.
Oh, thank you so much for thank you for saying that.
That's why it's so important where we put our intention to. Like I was putting for a couple of weeks now towards all the positive that was happening around me, all the positive people. And look like how this group is growing, how much more people are interacting here and jumping into this conversation, very, very conscious one and with open hearts. I love it. So thank you for so much, guys, for being here. And
I, I
let's
got Rob.
manifest every day this beautiful new world.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
let's contribute something. Let's
Let's laugh at the end. We love it, no?
yeah.
And we will record it, so this time everyone can hear it afterwards. But Gary wanted to say something, sorry.
Let's practice a little gift economy over here now. Anyone who actually needs me to help think through your concept, just feel freely to reach out and just like let's schedule a time we can chat.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Lovely. For me, the
yeah,
same.
and
I
like
just
let's
updated my Calendly. I can
So
drop
so
it in our group.
so Gary, I like your idea about the energy and all things, right? Because right now I'm working in renewable energy and
Mhm.
blockchain energy transaction, and I'm the place where people are working toward gift economy. They are believing to produce a free energy. They are believe to produce free resources. So I think it's nice to have you also. We let's discuss
Yes.
offline.
Sure, sure.
Perfect. See, guys.
yeah,
Mm.
and let's build something up. Let's
True,
contribute and
true.
together build something up, so that when we give something substantial to the community, to the world, and then we look back down to these calls, which were the very pillars, which were the very foundations of it, and we feel rejoice about it. So that's the closing line that I want to say. Thank you all.
I
Totally agree.
I appreciate that, but I also appreciate the spirit of us not being attached to an outcome right now. Like, there's not some big thing that we need to do to improve the world because the world is perfect how it is right now. And in this moment, we are in the spirit of focusing our sort of consciousness in a way that does actually create, even though you might not be able to see it today, or maybe you will, I don't know, but it's like there's magic in this. So just being okay in the beingness of what we're doing is important to me.
Yeah, let's just be free of any pressure here. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I feel that, some things are going out of it. I just feel it.
It's
But
like you should let the
So
ball
I've been so
go ahead. Which one? We are closing. And if you would like to, maybe tomorrow or another day this week, we could meet with the guy from Communivate, this social media that is focused on impact. The guy is doing everything himself. He learned how to program it. It was like amazing, his story, and he doesn't want to really make any business out of it, just to help. That he thought that this is the way he can help to change the world. I would like to make this surprise for him and bring some more heads to help him brainstorm. So uh, if we could find a date when we could do this kind of thing for him, that would be lovely.
Oh,
that
actually,
would
we
be
could
great.
just like have multiple different sessions, depending on his availability.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure. We can work on that. We can talk to that guy and let's see.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So we
Okay,
laugh at the end, raise our
That's
vibrations. Bye.
bye.
Bye
bye.
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 Love and light, everybody. Nice
Hey,
to see
nice
you
to see
all
you
We
there.
are
guys.
laughing.
Namaste.
Yep. Namaste.
Bye.
Woo.
This is.
It's been great, people.
See you.
See you guys.